Gorgeous Taylor. Yes, my hair's straight. It's been a while since I straightened it. I don't straighten it very often anymore. I've been trying to let it grow out, trying to take better care of it. I have tendonitis and arthritis, so me straightening it is very hard. So every once in a while, about once every 2 months or so now, I will go to my hairdresser, and when I have her trim my hair, she washes it, trims it, straightens it, and then we get to see how much better it's looking, and we can actually see stuff. So that's, yeah, but that's not what this video is about. So I haven't really done much about Project Me lately. I'm still working on Project Me, and today is part of just everything that sort of I do. I don't really even know where to begin except to say that the benefits of journaling, the power of journaling is tremendous. And so I'm going to talk about journaling today because I'm still going to be filming some more bits and pieces of my journal that I'm working on, the new one, that is sort of based on the decorated pages, and working on something completely different but very similar to what I had been working on before, my Omni-Journal, and taking it a bit further. I'm going to give you some information about journaling. I'm going to tell you a couple of quotes. There's a quote that says, "The faintest ink is more powerful than the strongest memory." There's another quote that says, "One dull pencil is worth 2 sharp minds." The reason that that quote is important is because if you write down something, even with a dull pencil, writing takes a percentage of your brain that keeps that information more than if you just read it, or you just heard it, or you just saw it. Once you write it down, the action of writing it down, you're more likely to remember it. You're more likely to think about it. You're more likely to act on it. So there are more than one type. I couldn't even tell you how many types of journals there are. There are diary style journals. There are art journals. There are scrapbook style journals. There are writing journals. There are morning pages journals. There are illustrate your life, sketch your life, illuminated journals, textured journals, all kinds of different journals. There's journaling for different reasons. Morning pages are very similar to brain dumping. Putting your thoughts and feelings on paper, especially first thing in the morning, is very beneficial because your ego isn't wide awake, so you're more vulnerable. So you're more likely to talk about things in your journal when you're journaling than you would otherwise. You get those things off your chest, so to speak. And putting things down on paper changes things. Once you start writing, you're either going to be more negative or more positive, and the more you do this, the more apt you are to end up going more towards a positive direction, and it heals you because you have a shift in your emotional state. It shifts your emotional state from the negativity, from the depression, from the anger, from the ranting, to a more positive thing, especially when you consciously choose to do so. I like to write affirmations and quotes in my journaling. Journaling is really good for personal improvement. Journaling is a tool. Journaling improves your creativity. One, you can do any kind of art. I mean, if you're not a person who draws, you could put collage, pictures, stickers. You can do all kinds of different things that are creative with the journal. Journaling is a good place for inspiration, to put down things, whether it's writing or pictures or whatever, that inspires you. When it comes to that kind of journaling, like if you are doing journaling where you're adding pictures of family members or pictures, whether you're drawing them or you're taking photos, you're capturing memories. You're going to keep those memories. Like I said, the faintest ink is more powerful than the strongest memory. So when you look back on your journal pages and you see that photo or you see that drawing or you read those words, you're going to remember things that maybe you had forgotten later on. Journaling also helps with clarity. One of the things about morning pages and about brain dump journaling or regular writing, free writing journaling, is that it helps you with clarity. It gives you insight into your own mind, insight to behaviors, insight to communications. If you write about a conversation that you had with someone and maybe it was poorly communicated, maybe there was a miscommunication, you can think about how things could have gone or how things need to go the next time. Then we go to reflection and insight. When you are writing down your thoughts and feelings and things like that, lots of times you'll discover things about yourself, maybe your dreams, maybe those deep-seated feelings that you haven't really let out, or maybe dreams that you had deferred and you hadn't really thought about for a very long time, and you're like, oh, well, gosh, I had forgotten about that. you know, I've always wanted to take an art class, or I've always wanted to take a photography class, or I've always wanted to take a cooking class, or I've always wanted to visit such and such place. If you think about it, those things maybe you forgot about, and when you're doing a free writing session or you're writing morning pages, you're like, oh wow. And then you can put that on your bucket list or on your goals list. Goals, one, it help you expand your horizons. If we keep doing the same thing that we've always been doing, nothing is going to change. So if you want to be more productive, if you want to fulfill those goals, if you want to make things happen, writing those things down, which is why a lot of people are into bullet journaling right now, is because bullet journaling is enabling people to do collections and write spreads and do these to-do lists, these tasks, and the satisfaction of crossing off those lists, that thing on that list, or to checking or to filling in that little circle, a little square, you've done it, you've accomplished it. It's a good feeling. It makes us feel good. Goals are also great. One, personal development, expanding our horizons, being productive, feeling accomplished. Those are all good things. They make us feel good. They give you positive feeling that are very important. It's powerful when you feel more positive, especially when you are getting rid of negative feelings. Even if it's slowly but surely, it really helps. Once we get to the goals, now we've talked about goals, is note taking. Some people have journals where they take notes. Some people take notes in different places, or maybe you do it all in one journal. But if you're taking notes like about a book that you read, or about a movie that you watched, or about a documentary you saw, or about something that's going on in the news, I do that in my journal. If there's something important that happens, or something that reminds me of something, or something that makes me sad or angry, I write about it. If there's something going on in the news, like with the political debates and with the Olympics and stuff, these are things that are happening during our times right now. They are current event, and you can record those, because later on down the road, if this is a keepsake journal or a memory thing, you might want to reflect on those things, because times change. At 49 years old, I've went through quite a few presidents, quite a few elections. I've noticed that the older I get, the worse these elections seem to get, with the negativity and the bashing and stuff like that. You learn by taking notes. Like if you read a book and you take notes on that book, things you want to check out later. If somebody talks about a book and they did a review, you want to maybe check that book out. You can write notes, take a little note. I need to check out such and such book. We only remember 10% of what we read. Like a week to 3 weeks later, if we've read something, we're going to remember about 10% of it. So if you hear it, you read it, or you see it, you might remember 50%. If you physically do something, you see it, hear it, read it, write it, that kind of thing, you're going to remember much more of it, anywhere from 70 to 90% depending. So if you discuss it, read it, write it, say it, that always works for me. So that's why I do journal a lot about things that I'm learning. Words, like if I learn a new word, I write it down, I write the definition, I'll write the word in a sentence so that I can remember it. Why I write down affirmations and quotes, because reflection and insight, building yourself, it's a very important thing. It's a very good thing. The last thing, like we've talked about capturing memories, we've talked about clarity, we talked about goals, we talked about notes, we talked about creativity. The very last thing I want to talk about is the fact that it is a de-stress. Journaling de-stresses. For me, the changes in my anxiety and my depression are tenfold. My depression and my anxiety have lessened because of journaling. I am not as uptight, I'm not as anxious, I am less likely to be depressed when I'm writing. Maybe I don't write like 3 or 4 written journaling pages or diary style or emotional or thoughts or things like that, but I'm doing some type of journaling every day, and that has really helped with my anxiety and depression. Making lists or scripting your life, whatever type of planning that you do, it's really, really awesome, because it's helped my ADHD tremendously. It has helped my ADHD. Super excited about how much more things are working for me in a positive direction since I've started changing up how I plan and how I journal. So I know this isn't probably what you want to see, but I'm just going to give you like a quick, I don't really like doing the show my journal this way, but I think this might be the easiest way to do this. I finished the cover for the most part. Lots of little different things. So here's the journal. Now I started writing some quotes and stuff in there. And then this is a tip in, and it's got a little red fish in there. It's the fortune teller fish, fortune teller miracle fish. And you hold the fish in your hand and it moves. And depending on how it moves, it's got this information on the back. It says, depending on how it moves, it tells you like it's like supposed to be a fortune teller. The first page of a journal is always a bit difficult. So I wrote that. First page is so weird. No matter how many journals I've started, that first page always makes me feel anxious. So I did some journaling. Just, you know, talked about what my little miracle fish fortune teller said. And I am doing all kinds of different journaling. I mean, I've got art. I've got some washi tape. I've got notes. I've got a leaf from my rose bed. I've got these fabric petals from our wedding. My grandson got into something and some of these petals happened to be in it, so I put them there. And then I watercolored some roses. And this is a scene. You can see the trees and the sky in the background from a movie I was watching. I took a little bit of notes about that movie because that movie gave me an idea for a novel. I did opposite journal fun. This is my ideas for that novel. These 2 pages are summary information, thoughts that I had about this new novel. So I did the opposite on the pages to kind of make it interesting. I was watching the Game of Thrones. That's supposed to be a dire wolf. His legs aren't long enough. It's not quite big enough. But that was my first attempt at actually drawing a wolf. It's a picture of my new typewriter. I'm reading the journal of Professor Abraham Van Helsing, and this one of the pages is a drawing that's supposed to be by Van Helsing. So I drew that. I redid a bucket list, part of it anyway. I'll go back in. We had the meteor shower last night. This is today's page. And then in the back of here, because I don't like having it in the front, I have about 4 pages of index in the back. And I'm not separating my journal into sections like for goals or notes or any of that stuff. I'm not doing any bullet journaling or any scripting my life or any of that in this journal either. This is a journal. I'm going to be putting art. I may put newspaper articles in it. I may cut a page where I leave a part of the page, like in the decorating page, and then add a page to that so that this won't be too chunky. I may end up doing that, I may not. All kinds of different things, pictures, stuff from magazines. This is going to be a catch-all, sort of, maybe a common, what is that called, a commonplace journal? I'm not sure. There are different kinds of journals, but this is my journal, and I'm doing everything that I want to do in here. And my insert for Planner Perfect, I'm scripting my days. So that's more of the planning. And I'm also on a little note, because of my ADHD, writing down little to-dos that are extremely important, more than like my top 3, because my top 3 are regular things. If there are bills or errands or whatever, I have in my errand runner and have a sticky note. I can keep track of things. I'm more than a list, as Jenny says. But I do need at least a little bit of a list because of the ADHD. I think journaling is extremely important for some of us. There are some people who will never journal. My husband is not a writer. He's not a journaler. He'll write me notes. He'll write sometimes in the relationship journal that we have when the mood strikes him. He's a music person. It's all about the music for him. But I mean, it really just depends on what kind of person you are. But for some people, at least I found for me and for some other people that I know, journaling really helps, especially if you can be creative with it, whether you are drawing or adding like a glue journal, like pictures from magazines or whatever, smashbook style journaling where you're doing whatever, you know, receipts. I do a number of different kinds of journaling all into one book. This is truly becoming an Omni-Journal minus the bullet journaling. I don't like having the bullet journaling in there. I've realized that I like doing it separate. I want everything else though in one journal. Like I want to be able to index, and if there's something important, notes for my novel or notes for a certain thing or something I talked about that was really important, a family event or something that I journal about, that's what that index is for. But the rest of it, I really don't think that I need to add to-dos to this journal. I think that having the errand runner and the Planner Perfect method of scripting your days with little to-dos on the one page, and then I could take that little post-it note of to-dos, stick it into my errand runner or write it down on my errand runner or whatever. Because the more I read it, write it, say it, the more I'm likely to remember it and not get so distracted and lose my focus. Thank you, ADHD. The more apt I am to remember things and not be distracted so easily and to remain focused. So that really helps me. It's all about finding what works for you. That's what it's really all about, is finding what works for you. I'm going to Sunday put some of the pictures and some of the video that I have of this journal where you'll actually see me and do a flip through of the journal where I'm not holding it up. I know for some people that's aggravating. They don't like that. But I wanted to show you you can do whatever works for you. It doesn't have to fit somebody else's mold. It can be whatever you want to make your journal. Some people don't like doing months and months in one notebook. They want an insert for every month. And I like that idea. I really do like that idea. But I found that having one insert, because there might be days where I write 4 or 5 or 6 pages of journaling, because I'm not separating my regular journaling, like where I write down things, like if an idea comes to me or whatever, I'm not separating it anymore into a bunch of different journals. I still have multiple journals, but I'm noticing that I'm feeling much better, more positive, more at peace with how I'm journaling now that I'm kind of doing it my own way. Now that I'm kind of doing a combination of different things into what really works for me, and I'm not trying to limit myself or separate things or work it into whatever, which is why, like, for me, the Planner Perfect method of scripting your days works for me for a lot of it. But because of the ADHD, I still need either a post-it note or some kind of little task list, some kind of little to-do list, so that I know I need to do these things. And when I have marked off, if I get distracted, if something happens, if the phone rings or somebody knocks at the door or whatever, and I know I have to go and I have to go do these things, I don't get going, oh, what did I do? Where did I stop? What do I still need to do? And that will happen. I know myself, because I can walk into a room for a certain thing and forget completely why I walked into that room if I get distracted by something. That's it for me. I hope you guys have a great one. Enjoy your weekend. Happy Friday. I will post a video Sunday. Thanks. Bye, y'all.